Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. I will turn my fan on off just to make sure it isn't bothering y'all. It's been another scorcher in Alabama. Well, I'm drinking something cool, not something hot. Let's see. Camera is turned on. It is centered up. Everything is going good that way. 24 seconds in. We shall see. James Singer, good evening. Tiny Titan, good evening. Earl, good evening. Briar Smoke, hello. Justin, hello there. Tracy, good evening. Hello to Southern Trapping Solutions in South Georgia. I know y'all are having warm as well, but we've actually got some clouds just started up here in the last hour, and they're hinting we may get a little bit of a sprinkling. Maybe that'll drop the temperature down. Brett Johnson, good evening. Will Goodman, True Mania. Slick Rick, howdy. Worm Wrangler, how y'all doing? Well, it's been a busy day for me. I went over to Miss Chelsea's and we're working on something for making a banner. And so we're getting stuff that runs through a printer to make you a banner out of, where you can like have a iron-on transfer to put logos and stuff on. And so that was a fun day. Me trying to remember stuff from running a print shop in the 90s, her running her computer and printer. So we're completely different eras. Plus, that's her computer. She knows the computer better than me, but I know more about the setting up the picture and stuff like that. It was a fun day, either way. Tim, good evening. James, good evening. Rolling 36s, awesome. You putting it into a 51, a 61, or what you putting it into? Will Rowell, good evening. I want to go shooting, but man, it's been so hot. It's difficult to get out there and be accurate when you're trying to shoot with your heart thumping like crazy because it's over 100 degrees with heat index. Two, sweat's running in your eyes, and when you put your shooting glasses on, they fog up. So it's a challenge to shoot accurately at the range for any amount of time. Awesome, James. 2020, good evening. I have seen and I have fired a Navy 58, but I've never owned a Navy 58. Many, many years ago, back in the late 70s, I had a friend of mine had I want to say it was a birdie that was in the Navy 36 and was very handy and shot really well. And I had a Spiller and Burr. And he wanted that Spiller and Burr, and I wanted that Remington, but I didn't want to give up the Spiller and Burr. So we just never got around to trading for that. Worm Wrangler, no, it is not. I'm sure Flint, Michigan's got us beat by a great deal. You're going to see a lot of things pop up. And what they're doing is they're trying to fight people leaving the big cities in California and all these places. You look at where it has lost people, and it's all the big cities. And so they're going through and they're saying the worst place to get a job, and it's like Alabama and places like that. And any place you're moving to in droves, Texas, Florida, Alabama, Arkansas, don't move there. You can't get a job. You need to move to California. You need to move to New York, because they're just hemorrhaging people. So it's horrible tap water. The funny one that I saw the other day that really tickled me, it was showing a heat index chart, and it said that it's over 120 degrees in Alabama. Nothing's alive. Even the cows are dying in the field. It's just another summer to us. But hear them tell it was like, death and decay, waste. Don't even consider that. And every place that's a blue state was lit up like a perfect place to go to. Yeah. That's an ad agency that's getting paid money to make you sound good. Kodak, good evening. Chuck, good evening. Travis Bishop, yeah. I'll say this, Worm Wrangler, this is what my granddaddy taught me when I was young. He said, when you're driving down the road and there's them big old billboards there and they're talking about some big issue, when the guy on the news can't shut up about it, when the guy on the radio brings it up at least 2 or 3 times every hour, that's a rich man telling you how he wants you to think. Because you and I can't afford all that airtime. And it sure ain't doing it for the poll. So it's some rich man telling you what he wants you to do, what he wants you to think. And so anytime I said, a big awful news agency, you just told me right there it's some rich dude trying to tell me what he wants me to do for him. But I digress. Terrence, good evening. Gray Wolf, good evening. Tracy, good. Yeah, the old Buck 110. Love that knife. It's just so useful. And I'm still going to do at least one more of the forgotten. I'm going to show mine, which was a K-Bar 1607. And the only reason I chose it over the Buck was its thur. And I was such a scrawny kid. I mean, it took me forever to break 100 pounds. I was always just a straight up, straight down, starving kid. You could see my ribs. And literally several times, there were questions raised at school whether or not I was being fed or not, because I had sunken cheeks. I never looked like a chubby little kid. I always looked like a patient in Dachau or something. And because of that, there was a real question about it. And I was so skinny, I had to have a thin knife in that back pocket, because trying to put that Buck 110 in my back pocket was just too big. Even though I had several bucks, but I always carried them on my belt. But loved Buck 110. Tim Lacey, yeah, I am too. I'm a big fan of knives. And I really, the Granddaddy Barlow is just so underrated. When my granddaddy's day, that was the big knife. I don't think I ever saw him with a lock back, no matter what. And so that was the big knife, the big working knife. And when you saw that, you knew you were going to be doing a job, because it was basically like a bushcraft knife. He brought that out. We had some job task, or he was planning. I saw him use that to cut corn, going out and take the ears, or harvesting whatever. And so where a little knife wasn't quite enough to go with that. John, hello, Romania. Diane, good evening. Jonathan Frisbee, hello, brother. Glad you made it. Bar Smoke, in your latest Pocket 9 series, in your humid south, carbon or stainless? I love the way that carbon cuts, but I'll usually choose stainless. Modern stainless has got a lot better than it was back in the day. And so it holds an edge much better. And we use diamond hones today. So it gets toothy, it cuts well. And in bar pockets, you can just bet it's going to be sweaty. And so I prefer something that doesn't have a sweat, easy to sweat at all. Well, Jan, thank you for saying hello from Romania. Well, yeah, the KR will be coming next, probably be next week. Mitch, Blackie, is it possible to buy the same French trade knife like you had made? I don't know. I've been out of the rendezvous in so long, I don't know. But it was commonly called a lollipop, because that round end on it, French trade knife. And the one that Mark Baker had was made by Aerosmith with Blacksmith. And I took that picture and took it with a couple of historic references to Billy Watson, and he made it. And I'm sure it's got to be out there somewhere because it was such a good design and worked so well. So I'm just out of it too much. But you start looking at the traders that actually work in the rendezvous today, you may find somebody that's still making them. Yeah, the Tracing the Big Timber was a good one as well. Randy Robin, thank you. Good evening too. Brett, I do not know the exact dimensions off the top of my head. And I do not know if it means carrying requirements for an airline. I'm sorry. Yeah, don't, Edgar, don't baton a K-bar. Gordon, good evening. Y'all are all posting. I'm trying to catch up. Randy, what are your thoughts on Ontario now closing? I'm kind of sad to see it go. But some of the indications that I'm seeing in big picture stuff, I'm really thinking that in the next 5 years, we're going to see a lot of old companies go away and new companies popping up, basically doing what the old company did, but different structures. And I'm pretty sure somebody is going to pick up that design, and you're going to see old hickory butcher knives and stuff like that showing up. It's just they're not going to be around anymore. That company ain't. But I'm pretty sure that knife and design is just like Old Timer with Parker Schrade. Schrade went out of business, and then Smoky Mountain Knife Works brought them back. So I'm pretty sure it will come back down the line. Donald, the slingshot, finally I broke it. I finally broke one of the things. I pulled back and was aiming on the cannon. One of them let go. Sorry, I will. You got more stuff in the bag. I will get around to fixing it, but that one finally gave up the ghost. Jeff, hello. Yeah, Grey Wolf, the roach belly French trade is very similar. Wizard Ram, if I bought a bushcraft knife for construction work, is there one you'd recommend? That's a good question. If you're looking for a fixed blade, my recommendation would be a WC Knives neck knife. That short blade with all those angles, strong, and you're going to be doing a lot of taking splinters off into things, pushing, all that, cutting into drywall, everything else, that kind of construction. That little blade design, I think, would serve well. It's almost like a tanto when it's at an angle. It goes in easy, it cuts well, it's strong, and it's full of tang. So if you're looking for that, I'd go with that. If you're looking for a folding knife, a buck 110. Get it, use it. It's replaceable if you destroy it. Mitch, what's your second favorite fixed blade knife? Ooh. Okay, we'll go with this. If you're saying other than a WC knife, because we'll go down that list for quite a while, how many of them I like. It'd probably be if you just said I couldn't have any, that would be my second choice, would be one of the Condor bush lower type deals. And I have Condor bush lower. This was mine that I used before I got my WC knife. And today I got this that I'll be doing a review of. So y'all that recognize that symbol right there, I got it today. Literally, I just unboxed it as I was walking in here with it. So once I get a little bit of dirt time with this, I'll do that. But that's pretty, I like that design. that handle, the way it fits in the hand, and all that good 90-degree spine. I'm looking forward to giving that a little field try and trying it out. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Yeah, Brett Johnson, the K-bar is a good knife, but it also has weaknesses. And my uncle, who was a Marine in World War II, talked about how they were everywhere. We used them to nail into a tree to hang a pack on. Used them as tent pegs because you had cases of them that would come in supplies. And if you broke one, so what? It was meant to be basically a disposable knife they used in fields. So they were really abusive toward him. He said that he'd broken several in his use in doing what he was doing as being a Marine. And I've talked to a lot of Marines who've talked about they'd break them and you just turn into pieces to get another one. So they're good knives, but they're not pry bars. You don't beat on them and will snap. So I like the design, but just know its weakness. Name, okay. I haven't heard of a Carl Schleppler, but okay, good pocket knife, I guess. Sir Malcolm, thank you. I'm glad to do it. Yeah, Travis, I've seen but 110 auto. I had a coworker a while back that had one, and the 112, whatever it is, it's on the hard G10 handles or whatever. So I like the fact that they're floating them around a little bit. Give them that blade design works well in a lot of things. I'm glad they're giving it for the guys that want the real lightweight, go with the plastic tie panels. Those want the traditional and going to be doing heavy work, go get the original. One button open would be great for a lot of jobs and stuff where I only got one hand loose at a time. So really good. Good evening, Tennessee Smoky. Yes, I did. I wore a mil spec uh, boonie hat a lot back in the 80s. In fact, the hats like this that I wore, I had them that were used, and then they went into my civilian life. When I drove a truck, I wore a hat like this a lot of times. And my boonie hat was my go to the woods hat back in them days. In fact, I still got a couple of boonies. I just don't wear them much. If I'm going to be canoeing or something, a lot of times I'll wear a boonie instead of this just in case I dunk. I don't want to lose the hat, you know. But the boonie hat can be really good. Now, as far as waterproofing, I use spray silicone instead of doing the beeswax. It's going to make it stiff. Just take it, put it, spray it down, let it dry, spray it down a second time. Do it on the outside, not on the inside, and it'll do a pretty good job getting it to bead water. Elvin, good evening. Gordon, let's see. I've got a hobo knife for my canteen cut set. Okay. A wood carving knife, a pocket knife with a single 3.5 inch blade, and a hatchet. Would you recommend anything else? A short machete is very, very handy, or a kukri for that lot of light chopping, like you're blazing a trail. An axe or a hatchet is great, but it's not the best tool at the job when I've got to get that limb out of the way, get that pine out of the way, that type deal. It's too much weight. That's where the machete or a kukri come in. One of the cold steel machete shape, kukri shaped machetes, about 20-25 bucks, be a very good thing to add that, because there are times when I need to clear this grass out, because we're going to fish right here and we got big old tall grass. I can put it about a 1/4 inch off the ground, go, use it like a scythe and take down grass easily. Gather up a handful and light chop and clear out. It's great for clearing areas, especially when you're going in. I got to clear a campsite, get these overhead limbs out of the way that's going to be poking me in the eye. One of those is for the set you're saying. I think it would be beneficial to you. John Bushcraft and Outdoors, hello. Bushcraft with the Preacher, good evening. Jonathan Gable, hello. Travis Snow Seal, if you're up in wet country, yeah. Snow country, wet country, yeah. Snow Seal's good. Yeah, Tennessee Smoky, I go to the camping section at Walmart, and usually somewhere around the tents and stuff like that, you're going to have a spray can with usually like a bright orange cap on it. That's the type I normally use. And just make sure, take a hat or whatever, wash it first, make sure no sizing in it, let it be thoroughly dry. Get you a cardboard box or something I can sit it on, like an empty milk jug or something. I can set it around, you know what I mean, on a post. And just start it and do a little light, go around it, and really just mist it. Just don't really try to cover it in, just kind of mist it. Give it 10 minutes for that to dry in the sun, and then come back and do a little heavier coat. Give that about 30 minutes, another coat, give that about 30 minutes, give it a third coat, and then let it have 24 hours in the sun. And then I come back the next day and I give it one more little light coat on it, and usually that'll bead water pretty well. It's also flexible because it sprays silicone, and so it will not make it stiff. I want to still be able to shape it to whatever I want, not be, you know. Oh, bless his heart. I had a friend of mine who lived in history. He wanted to tar a hat because he found out that the sailors would tar their hats. And so he took a floppy hat like that and he tarred it. The problem is he sat down on deck, and so it was flat. And so it was just like that, flat, straight out, straight forward. You couldn't shape it for nothing after that. So, it looked like the pizza with your head on it, the record player hat, we started calling it. Hiram, good evening. Tennessee Smoke, yes. Snow Steel really isn't kind of greasy. I think it's a little bit of silicone is what it is as well. I don't use it a lot down here because it being, you know, um, the only time I use Snow Seal is back when I was driving a truck and I was going up north into snow country. And I had big, heavy boots, had leather on them, waterproof bottoms and leather uppers. And I had to use Snow Seal on them, otherwise they'd get soaking wet. Richard Hayes, Blackie, have you ever heard of a Tops Bramico knife? I have not. It doesn't ring a bell. Edgar, the Spets Knots. It's not a good axe or a good shovel, but it's a great one to put in a vehicle. And I tell you why. You can chop with it, you can pry with it, and you can dig with it. And if it gets stolen, you ain't out a lot. And I've used them for everything, including, using it as a come along. I've anchored it in a fork of a tree with a line to it to use a come along to pull because it's the only thing I had that had any kind of strength. So I've had several of them and been happy with mine. But at the same time, no, it does not take the place of a true shovel nor of a true axe. But as a one tool fits all in the back of the truck, don't take up a lot of space. They're pretty handy. Woo, Carlos. Blackie, got any idea how to fix sticky plastic? I have a Voyager radio that needs to be fixed. Usually when that happens, you probably got bug spray on it. And bug spray or something like that will a lot of times make hard plastic actually turn soft. It's like you see, they show where you spray the headlights of a car that's got those plastic covers, and then you wipe real fast with bug spray, and then wipe real fast with paper towel, and it shines it. What it actually does is it actually dissolves the top layer of the plastic, and you're wiping it off. Um, If it's still tacky like that, I don't know. It's some composition within that plastic is breaking down. And so it's probably going to have to figure out something. I had a little pocket radio years ago, had a clear lens on it that was a shortwave. And I actually got bug spray on it. I had it sitting in halfway in my pocket listening to it, and I went to spray bug spray all over me. And I got it, and it completely frosted and destroyed that screen where you couldn't see through it. So I really don't know. I wish I could help you better than that, friend, but that's just best I can tell you. If it's try using hot water on a rag, don't destroy anything electronic, but try hot water on a rag. If that don't work, try alcohol. Maybe you can chemically get it to stop that way. If not, it's just going to be sticky. It's just going to degrade. Whatever happened to it, it's falling apart. Through failure we succeed. Hi, Blackie. Do you like hammocks with the bug net closure or the zip closure better, and why? If I'm going car camping, plenty of room, etc., I actually like the bungee type around the bottom because my one wind has got that. You cinch up at the bottom and you get into it and it seals up around the full length, so you ain't got to worry about bugs getting into you. The zippered type I prefer because I've got one that's got a zipping one for when I'm going much more compact, because the one with the full bug net is this big and the one with the zip in is this big. That's the only thing about it. But if we're going to be gone for 2 weeks and I'm setting up at a comfortable camp, it'll be the one with the big net. I like it because having that big net with that cinch cord at the bottom of it, usually I don't have to do anything with that cinch cord. I just pick it up, put it over my head, and get into the hammock, and just let it drape because there is so much material. Whereas the zipper, you got to get in and out every time. And that can be a game changer in certain times, especially if something's going wrong. You got to get up right now. Like weather's turned bad or something, grabbing a zipper. Zippers have a tendency to get in the way. So I would go with the big bungee type one. It would be my first choice. Johnny 3806. Well, thank you very much. Welcome, and hope you enjoy it. Hope you enjoy the channel. Feel free to throw any questions out there you need. I'll do my best to answer. The other day I took 2 days off from answering comments and went and did some stuff. And when I got back, I had over 450 comments on all my videos total to answer. Most days I try to answer 200 to 300 a day, so it adds up. So if I don't get to you immediately and I kind of drop through the thing, hit me in on another video. Whatever the current video is, throw it on there and say, why back you had this, throw me the question, and I'll be glad to answer you then. Oh yeah, gray wolf. Y'all gotta have them up there. They're crawling your mouth, your eyes, your nose, everything. They're solid wall up there. You got more of them. Ours are bigger, but y'all are meaner. Gary, thank you. I get emails and stuff will pop up on Saturday. Go, oh Blackie, I meant to ask you the other night. It's okay, throw them. I'll do what I can. Terry Queen, I'm doing pretty good actually. It was a hot day. I went over to Miss Chelsea's house to use her printer and her computer, and we're in the process of making up a banner and a thing with a QR code on it that'll take to my channel and to my stuff, so that when I go to these events and I'm doing presentations, I can stand that up so people can just scan a phone and find my videos and stuff like that. That's She's more of a technical guru than me, so I'm trying to learn. Thank you very much, Adam and Eve. Yeah, Ryan, those rocket stoves work very well. Is aluminum safe for cookwork? Yes. If you take an aluminum pot pan or whatever and you sand it, you have exposed the aluminum and you've made it a little bit toxic. However, once it's sat in the air for a couple of hours, it will oxidize and become totally safe to eat off of. It's only when it's freshly sanded that it's a little bit toxic. Well, where you find them talking about all this so much as people my age is because how mama and them cooked was they cooked breakfast and they put the food on for lunch. So what happened was you took the skillet, you cooked the sausage and stuff for breakfast. As soon as you was done, you walked over to the sink and you grabbed that stainless steel scour pad. You scrubbed it, sanded it, and then they slapped it right back on the stove and put whatever in it to cook for lunch. That's why. And they didn't rinse it out that well because it put scratches in the aluminum, and that fine dust of sanding got in those scratches that ended up in our food. So people my age test high for aluminum. And it was not because of the pot. It was our cleaning method. How we were cleaning the pots. We were sanding them and not letting them oxidize. It's safe to use for cooking as long as you understand that one thing. It's like the non-stick is not safe to use on a campfire. They tell you all over them, never bring them above 500 degrees because the coating that makes it non-stick becomes toxic above that because it kind of melts. So you go slap it on a campfire where a stove home maximum heat's 300 or 400 degrees. You slap it on that big bed of red hot flames and coal, that's 1800 degrees. And you can get sick off of that. So one of the things you just got to understand what you're using and what you're doing. You agree with that? That is true about the heat of them. You can melt a pot. If it's empty, it'll melt quick. How thin it is, too. Johnny, that a paracord hammock can be done. It's a lot of work. And when you get done, it's going to be heavy. There's a reason we don't make them that way very often. Because you got 15 pounds worth of cord in it when you get done. Brutus 13, welcome. Yeah, YouTube press. Don't clean it with Clorox because it'll hit you. Jonathan Blackie, have you ever dealt with military black style mosquito nets? I think they were designed to use on cots and stuff like that. Some claim it was used in the outdoors. Yeah, we used to use them, and we just stick up 4 sticks in the ground. If we were ground pounding underneath the tarp, we'd just either run a stick. Imagine this is the mosquito net. It's a box, right? We would take the loop on this side, run a stick, and then hang the 2 sticks off the ridge line so it would form that hanging around us, so to speak. And so, yeah, you could use them like GIs did it all the time, taking them to the field. I've used it many times like that to put over a ground pound and just hang it up in there, or just stick 4 sticks in the corner and drape it over it. Works fine. Bear's in the house. Good evening, sir. Yeah, we did a recent video talking about Bear's upcoming cookbook. Yeah, Ryan, a rocket stove is very efficient, works very well, very fuel efficient as well. Johnny, yes, it is. Military mosquito nets are not, you can pack them, but, you know, modern super fine mesh is better. Uh, yes, the video will be coming out Saturday. We are doing the classes in Ohio. I will the video will be going live Saturday afternoon, and we'll tell you where to contact, etc., to sign up. It is going, and I have the dates written down. I don't have them on me. It will be in the video in the description box. What the dates are, a rough itinerary of the classes, instructors, etc., costs, all of it. So that will be posting about 3 o'clock on Saturday. Mr. Cheddar. Okay, they are spawning down there somewhere. Look around. You probably got a swamp down there. If it's on the river, look around. You've got a ditch, backwater, someplace, whatever. You can also contact your co-op, and most states have some sort of anti-mosquito program where they'll come in and either help you, show you, or do something about it, because it's a health risk, not just for you, but other things. And when you find a big breeding ground of them, the state usually has some sort of policy. They'll come in and spray or do something to thin them down. A buddy of mine bought an old farmhouse several years ago, and it had a pond on it that was only probably 2 foot deep, and it was about the size of a football field, and it was just mosquito hell, boy. Water was just short of stagnant. There wasn't enough water coming in. And he went to the farmers co-op and talked to him, and the state sent out to people, and they said there's no fish or nothing in it. No, they sprayed something that isn't toxic to the environment, but mass killed off everything in that pond, any kind of insect or whatever, and showed him how to fix it. Because breeding mosquitoes is a health risk. So the state stepped in, was happy to help him, no charge, how to get rid of it. That would be my recommendation. Um, Camo, look at Sports Guide. Quite often they have cap and ball revolvers at a decent price. And usually in the end of summer, early September, they'll have a sale. So you may be able to get a deal that way. Tim Harper, Blackie, how would you carry paper cartridges made for your gun on your belt? I think they're fragile. What I do is I take 6 paper cartridges and I make a little thing of aluminum foil, and I put one up, one down, one up, one down. I put 6 in. I take a straw, the paper off of a drinking straw, and I put 7 caps in it. Kink it up, lay it down there. I then fold the aluminum foil up tight around it to hold it. And then I put a piece of tape, broad masking tape that I write out on, what is it, 36 cable, whatever on it. I use a U.S. Army compass pouch. I stand up in there. And then to actually, and I did this in my cap and ball revolver series for use in the 44 and the 36. I took 6 45 Colt cartridges, a piece of plastic, stood 1, 2, 3 the cartridges up against that plastic, where they're up just above top, 3 on each side, so it's 6 in a line, kind of like that, and glued and fixed it all together so that would stand inside that compass pouch on top, so I could put 6 individual paper cartridges in it, close the lid. That way I shoot once I'm hunting and I want to top the gun back up, I unsnap, pull one single cartridge out, put it in, load, use my capper hanging around my neck, get back into it. When I run out of the 6, I would slide it up, pull out the aluminum foil with my next 6 in it, unwrap it, and refill those 6, kind of like a magazine, so I could pull it out and use it. That's how I carried them in the field. But really, paper cartridges are not my first choice. My first choice is the Dixie tubes. If you can get them without causing a catastrophe. Oh, this is one of the bad things to tell you right now. Come on, get out of there. Dixie tubes. The white ones are for 36 and the yellow ones are for 45. They sell them at Dixie Gun Works. Some of these are 25 years old. Still use them. You just pour a pre-measured powder charge into it, put the ball in, press it down with your thumb. If you're going to carry a Wonder Wad, put it on top and just press it down and hook. When you get there, squeeze it. The wad will pop out. I take it out and stick it between 2 fingers. Keep squeezing. The ball come out. I pop it out and put it between 2 fingers. Then I pour the powder out of the tube. Pull out the wad, click, pull out the ball, put it on there and load. I can load standing up singles. I like them a lot better than paper cartridges, to be honest. Paper cartridges are great at the range to put and shoot in a hurry and from a historic standpoint, but from field use, they're too fragile. They're too sensitive to moisture, especially in my hot, humid environment. Dixie tubes are a better choice down here to me. John T. Block, you digress, Will Blackie. Well, thank you very much. Gordon, any tips about what to do with new cast iron? Wash it really good. Hot soapy water, get it good and clean. After that, take an oil. I like to use olive oil. People like different ones. Give it a good heavy coat. Once it's, make sure it's dry. Give it a good heavy coat. Put it in the oven. Bring the oven up to about 300 degrees. Then turn the oven off and let it sit there and let it cool down with that oil in it. It'll absorb it into it better. When you get done, wipe it out with a paper towel and deep fry stuff in it, stuff like that. A few times, be good to go. If you go look at Always, me and Bear talked extensively about cast iron. In fact, we did one where we did some cast iron, burned one out and stuff like that to get it cleaned and ready to go. Yeah, Gray Wolf. The original paper cartridges came in little bitty wooden blocks, usually, or even cardboard, sort of a wax cardboard back in the day. And it was sealed up till you tore the seal and protected them a good way. Gray Wolf, I have not here recently. Way back in the day, in the early 80s, I did experiment with making skin cartridges, and I used catfish guts, something I had access to. So I just took catfish intestines, cleaned them, and made the thing. And yes, they did fire, and yes, they did stink. And so I didn't pursue it very much after that. Billy Bird, welcome to the thing. Yeah, Bear, we do need to do some more cast iron when it cools off. We said like 3 years now we're going to do a video on it, and it just, whenever it gets cool, we get active doing everything else, and then when we turn around, it's hot again. It's too hot to do it. But we're going to make the effort. Cast iron is one of the most durable, rugged, heavy, um, but it will also last. If you take care of it well, it'll last the rest of your life. And that's one of the reasons that manufacturers didn't like it, because once I sell it to you, you're out of the market. You won't need another fry pan, skillet, whatever. And I'm in the market of selling fry pans and skillets. So I want you to take aluminum, and I'm betting it'll wear out in 2 to 3, and you'll have to buy another one. And so I can remember a door salesman coming to the door and trying to convince my grandmother that there were worms in her seasoned cast iron that she had inherited from her mother. They were actual little bitty worms that lived in the iron and came out and made you sick. I can still hear that old woman laughing at that boy. Bless his little heart, he was trying hard to sell that aluminum, and Granny had no use for it. We're standing on the front porch. I was probably 5 years old, and he pulled out of he had a big old bag on his shoulder uh, like a mailman had back in them days, and he pulled out this about 10-inch aluminum skillet and handed it to her and said, "See, ma'am, think how light that is, how easy it'd be to cook and everything." Granny went like that, went bonk, and hit the tree that was right there at the corner of the thing and bent the skillet and said, "Yeah, it's too light," and handed it back to him. He figured out right then he wasn't going to make a sale. So he moved on up the street, but it's too light, bonk. Um, Spec Case Zero, you're hunting a spider, is what it's called. Go look at James Townsend, um, who has a shop and sells. Also, go look at the Lehman catalog. Thank you very much again, Adam and Eve, because the type of frying pan with those legs under it you're wanting is called a spider. And it's a frying pan with legs as opposed to a Dutch oven. You can set it over a low fire or a bed of coals. But James Townsend in his cooking series shows it, and everything he's carrying in his cooking series he sells as part of his shop. The cooking series was really to show what he sold in his shop, and it just got popular. But you can see one in use, and they work well. And also there's a folding trivet, which is you open it up and it's three-legged, and you put a skillet on and fire underneath. Both of those are available and from him. Adam and Eve, Blackie, can I use 4FG in my 58 or in my CVA Staghorn Magnum? The answer is yes. It won't give you as much advantage as you think. Um, 4F is okay to use in 44 calibers, etc. In fact, I have the Lyman black powder book from the 1970s where they went into a lab and asked the very question. This was not some bottom of the barrel. This was one of the state-of-the-art labs today, and they drilled a hole in the chamber of a Uberti, I think it was, replica 1860 Army and a 51 neighbor, and put pressure testing like they do into a modern 357 or whatever. And they tried loads with 1F, 2F, 3F, and 4F, and Power Decks. Early Power Decks was coming out at that time. And they found you could. It would only give you like a 5% at most more velocity than 3F. And it can be too fine grain in the larger chambers to where it kind of like it ain't got enough oxygen. There's a balance point there of kind of like in a car, air fuel mixture. You get too rich either way or not enough air in a way, and it burns, but it doesn't burn as well. Whereas the small pistols like the 20s and the 31s, 4F absolutely, and the 36 4F. But once you went up into the 44s, it really didn't give you any advantage overshooting the 3F. And it shows that in the things. It did absolutely give you an advantage in the small capacity 31s. It didn't have a bunch of chamber room, so 10 grains was actually more. But what it was is the bigger it does. And so if I loaded up an 80 grain charge in a 10 gauge with 4F, would it shoot? Absolutely. Would it give me any advantage velocity? Usually not. because it compresses, because it's such fine grains and you're putting it in a big chamber with a big ball, it compresses tighter and there just ain't enough air to make it burn right. So 3F, which is coarser and therefore traps more oxygen, burn better. So that's the best answer I can give you. Will Rowell, have I ever shot a Rossi 92? Yep. In fact, I got one right over there that's in 45 coat. Like, shoots really, really well. Oh, you 2F. Yeah, it'll shoot. In fact, it may be a little more accurate. Your velocity will go down. My 50 caliber flintlock. I ended up. Thank you very much, Adam and Eve. I ended up with a supply of 2F, and I decided to try it out because I'd always used 3F trying to get a nice flat shooting velocity, and so I used the same load. Actually, I think it was 55 grains of 3F or 60 grains of 2F. And my groups actually shrunk down with the 2F. It was more consistent. Even though you could tell it was not nearly as powerful. But for shooting holes in paper, yeah. You know, my group size shrunk by a quarter. And so it'll fire any of them. It's just point of impact, groups may vary. So try 2F in it. It'll function. I've shot 2F in a cabin ball revolver before because that's what I had available. I was out of everything else. 1F's a little coarse and probably won't perform very well because it is too coarse. And then we're getting, remember that balance, too big a grain, too much air, not enough powder. Can't pack it in there tight enough. On the other hand, 2 and 3 are close enough. Yeah, you can use it. Thank you again. Yeah, a lot of times those Rossies today, okay, got to remember today, Rossi was bought out by Taurus. Taurus was bought out by Beretta. So Beretta owns Rossi now. And so the quality is much better. I remember back in the 70s, the El Tigre 92 copy that had the medallion of the tiger on the side. A lot of them was like a can full of rock. You know, shot okay, but they were not smooth. You had to take them apart and deburr them. But that and I got over there, that little bitty short trapper in 45 coat, shoots very well out of the box and it's very smooth. So I didn't even have to take it apart and do anything to it. I was happy with it. Terry Queen, thank you very much. Yeah, you trick we used to do, Gray Wolf, for taking coarse 1F and trying to grind it down into like priming powder is we'd put a little bit onto a glass plate and then use a wooden spoon and small amounts. So if it did go pop, it was just like a firecracker. Nothing any bigger than a jelly bean. That's all the powder. Sit there and crack it a little bit. And when you're happy, clean it off, wipe off that fine dust that's left because that's the most sensitive, and then put another one in up there. A good friend of mine, he was a big, huge fan of the Brown Bess musket. And the state of Alabama, as part of the Fort Toulouse at Montgomery, would provide powder to them guys to do reenactment. But they only provide the powder. They wouldn't give you any priming compounds. So we'd have to sit there and grind up, make priming compound. And when you're trying to prime, you know, Brown Bess has got a rock like that big. She takes some priming. So we would do quite a bit with that. Yeah, true, Jeremy. Cowboy Kent Rollins, a real good guy. I'm very impressed with him. Good night, Kodak. Justin Coon, do not use a coffee grinder for powder. No, 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 no. Yeah, Johnny, I hate to see that Ontario is closing, but I honestly believe that the knife companies will be coming back somewhere else. That knife, that company name has been around for so long. I truly believe that somebody else pick up that knife and that design, that name, that brand, so to speak, and it'll probably go back into operation. It might not be in that area, and it's probably not going to be overseas, but hopefully it'll go back into operation somewhere else. Because I can't see somebody letting a name and a understanding and everything like that go because it's just synonymous with old hickory butcher knives and stuff like that. You know, it's something that's there. It's an icon unto itself. Oh, okay. Jonathan Gabriel, it's been sold. Yeah, they're probably gonna move it someplace else and set it up. To Blue Ridge Knives of Virginia. Well, they're just setting up a new operation then. Everything's coming to the south. We got we produced over 1 million cars in Alabama last year in the auto industry factories. All auto builders have moved to the south. Most of the gun makers have moved to the south. We got Kimber, Remington, all of them down here in the south. We got cheap labor and rednecks that can learn and figure out how to work. So we already know how to work. You can tell us what you want us to do. So yeah, old Hickory Butcher knives are just great. I've got probably 6 or 7 of them. My wife got married. I remember going in the kitchen, and you're moving in, right? I had emptied out my knife drawer in my kitchen, and I come over, and I've got like 3 old hickory butcher knives, a case 2X butcher knife, and a handful of small knives, and that was it. She had a drawer solid full of all kinds of knives, and not one of them was a dangerous weapon. Every one of them was duller than a post, you know. And I told her, I said, how about I sharpen these? And she said, oh, that'd be wonderful. And I put my knives in the drawer, closed the drawer, and I took hers and went out to my place. And I didn't bring them back. I just forgot to sharpen them for a while. Well, after a week of her using an actual sharp knife, she didn't even notice those went to Goodwill. Garbage. Oh, now, Terry, isn't that just, yeah, it would seem to make sense. But the danger is when you're trying to grind powder, you think, I want to produce some like right now. Yeah, you're also one spark away. And reason I said we would take no more than, in fact, the measurement we used was out of a child's toy tea set. It was supposed to be a spoon. It was about that big, and it was like the end of my pinky was the whole side. And we would scoop up the one half powder and put it in the glass saucer and take a wooden spoon and put our thumb into it, wearing a glove, and sit there and crack it like you'd crack peppercorn. And then there was somebody got the idea, today you can go buy peppercorn grinders. Well, somebody got the idea, ooh, I'll speed up the process. So he took them big wooden peppercorn grinders and put about 2 ounces of 1F black powder in it, went crink, 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 bam. And he's lucky he kept his hands. He wasn't in part of our group. He was part of another group further down. But it was bad. You know, he's sitting here, it's like a hand grenade off in his hands. So don't go really small and expect. Here's a real easy rule of thumb. Don't put any powder to grind down that you scared when it goes bang is going to hurt you. Because it's going to go bang. Be surprised when it don't. Oh yeah, good. Jack, that Apex Sound is expanding. Oh yeah, Tennessee Smoky. You take them knives and you hang on to them. Just like I did with the cast iron when she wanted a all aluminum set. I'm like, sure, baby, give me the cast iron. I went and put them in the storage building. It wasn't a year before we needed a pot. Tennessee Smoky, yeah, there's always that possibility whenever you're talking about a knife company going out or whatever. Now their stuff will suddenly go up in price and collectability, which is, great for collectors. Oh yeah. Mark, good evening. Common sense, Kara. It's very relaxing to me too. The sound of a knife sharpening is very relaxing. And I can remember being a boy and after lunch or something, the old man would walk out on the porch and sit down, and the pocket knives would come out. That's normally when the plug of tobacco would come out. And they'd be whittling or sharpening a knife or whatever, and it was a relaxing sound to me. It always was a soothing, relaxing sound to me. And in fact, a lot of times when I was a young man, and young men get kind of agitated and stuff like that, there were things I would do to help calm myself down, and one of them was sharpening knives. Jonathan, would be good. Yeah, the ones I got were made there, but I got them through Walmart.com. But those Alice Pack straps work just fine onto the Nighthawk. Striker, good evening. Gray Wolf, they, from what I understand from various sources, they run the percussion caps in a batch that will run them from here to here, and then that's all we're going to run for the year because we're making some pistol primers on the thing, and the band's so big for small pistol primers. So June was when they were supposed to go into production for the percussion caps. Everybody percussion caps. RCBS, Remington, all of them. CCI, excuse me, RCBS. CCI, Remington, all of them will be producing the same factory. And they're going to do that. And they said by the end of July, beginning of August, they should hit the market. So be watching and be ready. So when they hit, you can grab them because that's all they're going to run until next year. I've got a little over 1,000, but I'm already looking and leaning at. Last year I scored really good from Mid-South Shooter Supply, and I understand that in Texas at the Shunson Powder has pallets in right now of RWS, I believe it is, caps from overseas. number 11 caps. I don't know what the going price is, but you can check on them. Yeah, Mark, it's amazing the price that can go up. For a knife goes out, a company goes out of business, suddenly the knife becomes collectible or desirable. Well, look what happened a couple of years ago with Twinkies. There's like 9 factories that make Twinkies, but one company said they were going to quit making it, and suddenly the world panicked and went to buying Twinkies. Like they were never going to see a Twinkie again. So, Branch Preparedness, welcome to the party. Oh, John Hamilton, Becky, what's your thoughts on the Army demo pocket knives? They're decent. They really are. Um, I've seen a lot of vets carrying them, and I've actually got to use one several times. They're decent knives. So, yeah, it comes down always with any kind of knife. It comes down to a personal choice. But if you like it, it looks good. I can tell you if it's an actual U.S. Army issue, it's going to have good sealing. So, yeah. Johnny, Blackie, if you could only carry one of the following machete, buck saw, or hatchet, which one would you choose and why? Okay, if it was only carry one, I'm going to take the buck saw out first, and it's going to be down between the machete and the hatchet. And I'll tell you why. I can resharpen a machete or hatchet, but resharpen the buck saw is a whole lot tougher. The buck saw is better in many ways, but if it's going to be one of them long-term things, it's probably going to be the hatchet or the machete. If I'm dealing with mostly light stuff, like I am now in a jungle environment, machete may be a better choice because I'm trimming a whole lot of little stuff as opposed to big stuff. If I'm further up north where I have to have wood to survive the night because it's going to be that cold, a hatchet would be the better choice of those. So for me, down here, if it was those three were the only choices I'd had, it's probably going to be the machete I pick up. Okay, CJ, you found CCI number 11s at Walmart. Awesome. That means they got in their first batch. Start looking on the at Walmarts and see if they pop up. My local one does not carry any black powder stuff, so they don't have the caps. The Dothan store did at one time. I may ride down there and see if they've got some more. Well, the reason they're saying that a machete can be a short machete this long, often called jungle machete, or this long. I have a 4 foot long machete and I have an 18-inch long machete. Different jobs. So it is what you're doing. The standard U.S. Army 24-inch, I think, is, or the short or the longer ones. It just depends on what you're using it for. How big and what's the job? Tibor, good evening. Jeff Conley got in the Natchez Supply has some, or Graff and Son. Check both of them. Terry, good evening. Thanks for stopping by. Richard Hayes, kukri. Absolutely. If the kukri was included in that list, I'd have picked the kukri. But I was limited to those three, so those are my choices. Striker, glad to enjoy it. That was a lot of thinking went into that haversack. Okay. T-board, it's what your things are. I have a good friend that he spent a lot of time in Central and South America, He'd rather have a machete no matter what. He want to carry a knife. He'll go to a machete. I've seen him clean fish, squirrels, and stuff with a machete. So it's what you're skilled and what you're comfortable with. Wolf HD. It is every on this channel every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central Time. We talk about outdoor stuff, woodscraft, bushcraft, knives, guns, whatever. So this is a weekly event, and I don't really advertise. It's just word of mouth. Yeah, it was just so my followers got an opportunity to ask me questions. Yeah, Mark, I agree with you. Uh, my kukri, you've seen in all my videos. I can cut grass with it. I can chop. I can build. I can split. Use it as a fro. Use it as a draw knife. Dig with it. It's my one field tool. If you don't see it so much in my videos as much as I really, because that's all you'd be seeing. And so I made a conscious decision to grab something else and take it and try it out, as opposed to always just grab my kukri, because I've used my kukri 25, 30 years or more. I know I've used I have to sit down and really figure out how long I've been using one. I know I had them before I got married, and that was 33 years ago. I know I was using it in the 80s. I believe I had one in the late 70s. But it so many years and it all starts running together. I mean, it's late in the day and the hair is gray. I mean, come on. Jonathan Frisbee, I hear you, brother. But the cool days are coming. Just hang in there. Stay in the air conditioner as much as you can, brother. Gordon, I don't care for the catfish alarms built in, to be honest. What I usually would do would be take a piece of reflective tape and put right up there at the tip around the rod itself as a visual. Another thing that I would do to just be a redneck is I would pull my fishing line out just a little bit from the reel, between the reel and that first out, and I'd set an empty Coke can up kind of balanced on the line. And, if we're going to be right there in the tent taking a nap waiting on it, when he start to pull it, that can would fall off and you hear tonk, and I knew it. You know, I don't care for those, I just never cared about them. Stan Hunter, yep, you're in the old guys section. Come on in. Sanford, hello. Chuck Miller, good evening. Wolf HD, you've been married almost as long as I have. Yep. I've been in love with that woman 45 years. I really have. And I've been married to her since 1990. And so it's kind of funny to me when like my friend Chelsea, she wasn't even born when I got married to Hope. I've got people I hang around with and stuff like that. And I have to think about, they were born 2 years after you got married. It just kind of puts life in perspective. Getting long in the tooth. But that's talking about. Oh, and Bear and I talked about it, and we'll be popping up in the Always video. We'll be posting on Bear's channel this Sunday, the number 35, and I brought out a lot of my old uh, ground pounder kit, which was the um, Army butt pack, M14 pouch, uh, canteen and cook set, strap, Army poncho, and all like that. The video on my channel will be me going out and setting up camp, and I'll show you what I was camping with when I was like 15, 16 years old. But in digging, for you old guys out there, when I was digging through my gear, I pulled this out. Now, you probably haven't seen this. This is not an M14 pouch. And it does take Alice clips back here, but I've got them off of there. But this is the very first M16 pouches. These were the same heavy canvas stuff that was made for the M14, but it was for the 20 round M16, because the magazines for M16s were 20 rounders. And it says in the flap, M16 A1 rifle. It's virtually brand new. It was a lieutenant that a family member that was a lieutenant over there gave to me years ago. And I found it digging it through my gear. So there's a rare military collectible. It's got the hook and all that was in 1956 type web gear, not the later Alice. This is pre them going nylon. But I found that one. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the short one. Dakota in the Woods. Good evening, sir. Have a good night, sir. Yeah, Cody. Excuse me, Gordon. Cody, I used an M14 pouch in my earliest videos. It's my fire kit, and it was sort of like my little haversack, because that's all I needed, the fire kit. I'd put a canteen on my belt, sling that on as a fire kit. I had a few other little accessories in it, and that's all I needed. And it was on later I went and got me a fancier. And I said in one of my early videos, I mean, back in like 2009, that I was actually embarrassed to show my haversack because it was so dirty and threadbare. It's been the one I'd used in living history. And so the bushcraft community, I figured, wouldn't relate to a bushcraft bag that was actually a rendezvous 1750s haversack design. And so I went to using other things besides that on camera because of that. Ron's got stuff. Good evening. Yeah, when I would walk into a military surplus place back in the day, and you would have all the World War II canvas, Korean War canvas, and everybody wanted the nylon that's been used in Vietnam, which was unobtainable. That was current issue. Can't get it. A lot of the guys would get GIs to go to supply. And, if you lost a pouch, you had to buy a pouch to replace it in your kit. So they'd give them the money, and they'd go out there and they'd buy extra pouches, bags, suspender sets, and stuff like that. I remember a deer hunt that was a truck hunt where you'd get in the truck and ride to the place and get out. And that was probably in the 75, 76, something like that. Vietnam was just over. And one of the guys was so tickled he came out to go on the deer drive that morning. He had a full set VAM LBE that he had got that was brand new, and he was just so tickled with it. So now nylon Vietnam arrows everywhere, and they trying to find the other stuff. So. Okay, Johnny, it's not a stupid question. What is the purpose of soft shackles? Soft shackles allow me to create in the field from paracord I'm carrying something that will do the job of a carabiner in the field. Easily lock it on, easily lock it off without having to tie knots. And so there's a itty bitty one right there. A itty bitty soft shackle. This one was used. I recently upgraded a quick deploy wrist line. Twist it apart and just pop it apart, and then twist it and pop it back in, and it will lock to itself and hold and have a lot of strength. So this was something where I didn't have a carabiner that I could spare to do this job. That's what this is for. I've got a piece of gear I want to hook to my belt, but I don't have a carabiner I can spare to do the job. I can make one. So it's just as effective for you to carry a carabiner of some kind. But if you know how to make a soft shackle, I can improvise one at will anytime I need such a thing when I don't have it. What if I lose it? A good friend of mine used to, the big heavy duty rappelling type. He'd keep it up here and he used it to hook his gear around the tree with. And somehow in one of the adventures, he lost it. And he didn't have a way to hook his gear up off the ground. So he had to just take a cord and tie it. Well, I taught him how to make a soft shackle so he could replace it at will. And that's the purpose of it. It takes the job of a carabiner being made out of 550 cord or some other cord, and therefore it's disposable if I need to. I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Yeah. Well, now come on. A lot of guys I learned that were active duty, you had your pretty set of field gear that stayed in the duffel bag, and that was only brought out for inspections. And then there was the dirty set you actually carried to the field. So when the guys were getting out of the army, you'd give them a 6-pack or whatever and get their canteens and stuff like that. They were getting out with or whatever, and so they'd go to the field with all the old wore out gear, but they had that pristine, perfect set for laying out the junk on the bunk. Yeah, that never went nowhere. That stayed in a clean, brand new bag. So whenever they announced we were going to be doing an inspection, you could lay all that stuff out and you'd have it, and you knew it was perfect because it'd never been dirty. You always had 2 sets of gear, the using set and the show set. Richard Hayes, which is better, nylon or canvas? I prefer canvas only for nostalgia. Each one's got advantages, to be honest. The nylon is decidedly lighter, and it may not wear as well as the canvas, meaning it's kind of hot on you when you're wearing it. The canvas seems to me like breathe a little bit better. But if you're only going to pick one and done, pick the nylon. Yeah. Uh, Hunter, yeah, and also canvas doesn't melt to you, and that's one of the things. If you've got something that's a flash or something, or you have the possibility of being around the fire, nylon will melt to you like that. In fact, my blood brother Davy Hobbs and I were uh, on a very, very cold camp out on a riverbank one time, and it was down in the low, low teens. And we had to take turns. There's four of us on that camp. We had to take turns sleeping, where I would take your sleeping bag and put it underneath me to have enough insulation from the ground to be able to sleep. Otherwise, it was just too much cold coming up to the ground because it's been cold for weeks. This was mid-January. And so I would sleep 2 hours, and then I would trade out, and you'd come and climb into my sleeping bag and have a hot bunk and sleep 2 hours. And we rotated through the night that way. And it's mine and David's turn to be up and sit by the fire. And I had one of the nylon uh, canteen covers from the Alice, one of the early, that bright nylon. And I put my back to the fire to warm up, but you're wearing several layers. And so I told David, who's laying there facing the fire, I said, you keep an eye on my back. If I get a spark or something on me, tell me, because I wouldn't know it until it actually burned through all them layers, right? And so we're sitting there talking, and I went smelling something. And I suddenly turned and looked, and my canteen cover had melted. The canteen had melted. When I grabbed a hold of the top of the canteen, tried to pull it out, the neck just came off because the fire had flared up, and I had so much insulation on me. It was so cold I didn't even know it. But that nylon cover just slagged, just like that. I never knew it. I'm glad that wasn't OBE on me, you know. Correct, Hunter. You're supposed to have a fire guard. And Wolf, you're correct. Nylon does make a lot more noise. If you're going from a hunting point of view, go with canvas. But canvas has that smell. You know, both have advantages and disadvantages, and I've done both. I have hunted with and camped many times with the old canvas gear. I still got a lot of canvas gear, and I've done the nylon gear, and each one has advantages and disadvantages. It just comes down to personal choice. Really, Frontier Survival. Good evening. Yeah, Gray Wolf, you're up there in the high country. You're gonna need wool and stuff for the cold country. Adam and Eve, thank you very much for support. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. St. Hunter, yeah. After 5 days of 200 men with no showers, you won't notice it at all. Jared, hello. Grouch McGowan, who taught for the Marine Corps for a while at the Arctic training school for the Marines. And they would make them take sulfur pills for the insects, keep mosquitoes off of them. Well, they start smelling like rotten eggs after 3 days, and the instructors are pushing them, take those pills, take those pills. And they go out into the Arctic and do all these exercise and drills, and they're out there for 2 weeks. When they come back to whatever this base was up there he talked about, they wouldn't even let you inside the mess hall. All those guys, that company reeked so bad, it'd take your breath away. And so they would make them take all their gear off, separate their gear into canteens and everything else, make piles of it out there on the tarmac, burn the uniforms, go ahead and burn them. They set up showers where they could scrub and shower, and adjacent to one of the hangars, and then issue them new uniforms and just feed them out there. They wouldn't even let them in the mess hall. They put tables in the hangar and bring food to them and keep them out there for 3 days and let the sulfur pill come out of their system before they let them go home. So, because you couldn't walk in the room with one of these guys, they stank so bad your eyes would just water. Them taking all them sulfur pills and everything, they smell like rotten eggs. Oh yeah, sulfur powder. Oh, rotten egg pan. Good night, Bear. Thanks for dropping in. Sleep well, brother. But down here, usually my procedure is put on bug spray of some kind. Don't wear any kind of perfumes or flowery soaps. My clothes are washed in non-scented stuff, and whenever it gets close to dark and the mosquitoes just seem to come out by the millions, I want a smoky fire with smoke going dead away from me, so that my breath, because they follow your breath, they smell a waste gas in your exhale and swim it like a shark following a blood trail to get to you. I want that smoke going away from me so the mosquitoes are not attracted to me. And then about 2 to 3 hours after dark, depending on the heat and everything else, they're going to just eat you alive. And then it's like you reach a certain magical point. It's like you turn the volume down on them again. And I don't even attempt to lay down and go to sleep until after that happens, because they're just going to eat you alive unless you got a mosquito net. And I always use a mosquito net unless I have no choice, in which case I'm just going to layer up and sweat like a pig, but at least I'm not being eaten. Mark Young, yeah, um, I'll do that. I did one a long time ago about taking the Army shelter half and having a third piece and splitting it so it opens up and turns it into a lean-to. So you could button it in and have a lean-to, or and take the solid one and make the floor. Or in case of really bad weather coming up, you could swap it and put that split one on the bottom and have a solid wall on it. I did that, but that's in my playlist from way back. Waypoint Survival. Good evening, sir. Tony Powers. Good evening, sir. And it fits onto a condor sheath, Tony. Had an extra condor sheath. Um, James, make sure after this, send me contact information to put in the description box for Saturday on the announcement of the Silver Wolf, so they can go to your site for signing up for class, because you're already set up for all that. And we'll make it happen. And hopefully, we will. There's only, guys, let me go ahead and tell you, we're going to limit the class to just a total of 50. There's going to be 4 instructors, but we're going to limit it to 50. So those of you that are interested in coming to Ohio for the Silver Wolf class, it's going to be a limit of 50. And so I'll announce it on Saturday. They'll have the video Saturday, and it'll have James's contact information. Go to his site and sign up for it so that we can get it going. The cost for the classes is going to be $200, because we're going to be doing, we're going to be dealing with, hold on a moment. We're going to talk about hammocks and tarps. I'm going to do everything on that. Packing basics, a tools class about saws, stuff like that. Shortcuts for fire, for the souls, how to make a fire quick and easy without doing a lot of effort. Immersion heating for cooking, that'll probably be paired with the fires. And how to adapt to the environment. And then several other classes. We're going to work out the entire thing. But just to give you a little taste of what's coming to it, it's going to be focused for the Silver Wolf, mostly for us guys car camping and stuff like that. Where, the Silver Wolves are a little too old to be tote back. Many of them can. I'm not going to say they can't, But the vast majority just want to be able to go out, enjoy time with grandkids or whatever. So therefore, we're kind of focusing on that for it. But it's going to be just 50. So any of you silver wolves out there thinking about it, I recommend, and it will be in the end of October, and it'll have dates down. It'll be at James Bender's school. He's been very gracious to allow us to use it for the classes. Richard Hayes, thank you, sir. And welcome to the talk. Hey, y'all throw some questions at James. We got a celebrity in the house and Mr. Tony Powers down here. Throw some questions at him, guys. Yep, you can do that as well. Baby, Waypoint needs a live on a different night. Hey, that's an idea, you know. Creek Camper, hello. Yeah, now that Tony's here, Tony made this knife and he's asked me to do a little bit of a field review for him. And so that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm very tickled with it. I literally, like I said, I got it and I walked in here with it. So I knew that I had a sheath, and I was wondering when I saw the dimensions and the size of it, and I picked it up and it did, it fit. So I've already got a sheath to carry it with, which I can make my own sheath, but But I really like the shape of it. I like the belly of it. It feels the hand really good. The fingers fit perfectly in there. Yeah, I'm on really, and I love the taper to it. It's got the right profile. It ought to be a cutter. Good 90-degree spine the whole way. This is going to be a spark thrower. Yeah, I love it. The lip of it right there fits the hand. It's going to be very comfortable in the hand. And one of my sticklers is the fact it fits in the hand. And this fits just like it was made for my hand. It's exactly the right dimension for my hand. So yeah, there'll be a video coming up on this pretty soon. But that's just the little tease of it because I ain't got any time yet. So I never want to say something unless I've done actual field time with something. So that'll be coming. I'm 52, but I'd be considered a silver wolf. Absolutely. If you think you are in my book. I don't look at it as like a retirement point. I look at it of a silver wolf is somebody that's willing to take their experiences and share it with the next generation. We're silver wolves. Our job is to take our experience and teach the next generation, hopefully to spare them a lot of the painful mistakes we made of how to be a woodsman, how to be out, how to live, how to retire, how to etc. And so many of the silver wolves that follow my channel, that's what they're doing. They're trying to get back out in the field because they've had a career now where they, grew up, got out of college, and they've done the God, King, and Country bit, and the kids are gone, grandkids are here, and I've got time. And I want to go back to the woods and go camping and fishing and hunting, but I haven't done it in years. That's what we're here to do, to help the silver wolves get back out there and enjoy their time out in the woods. Stay at it as long as we can. Satan Hunter, you want to do a rope and sleeping mat hammock video for those in swamp or damp areas? I see what you're saying. Mudslinger. Yeah. 1095, good steel, good, easily sharpened, holes in edge rail, and it's easily maintained in the field. Yes, sir. Ricky, none of us do, but it's a blessing denied to many. You want to live long enough, you got to agree to get old. Honey Titan, I hear you. There's got to be people up there around you. If you were closer, I'd go with you. It's just finding them. And finding a companion, can be a little bit, it was best expressed in a cartoon I saw in a book one time of two guys that met online to go hiking and to go together. Guy A wants to push himself to the maximum bit. I want to push till I can't go anymore and then push another 10 miles. Go, 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 go. Guy B wants to go enjoy nature and stop and look at the flowers and stuff like that. Those two are not going to be compatible. So finding a compatible running mate that has a similar idea of what's fun and how hard to push, etc., can be a little bit of a challenge. But there are people out there. You just got to look. Lee, hello. Richard Hayes, exactly. Teach the young ones. Get them off the dang couch. You know, get them to think and see the world, not look at the screen. See the world. Plain old Chuck. Dude, if you'd known me in my teenage days when we shall say Blackie was not always an angel, and Blackie was from the other side of the tracks, and I had a GV record and etc. that was never convicted of anything. They could never prove anything. My name popped up a lot, but grew out of that phase and became a pillar of the community, so to speak. But I never thought people around me that knew would have never believed I'd be 30 years old. I'd be dead or somebody would kill him or he'll kill somebody between 9 and 30. And here I am in my 60s. How I made it is a miracle unto itself. World not dead. Pain is only there to remind you that you're still in the fight. Keep swinging. I agree. But what's old? Well, when I was 12, I thought 20 was old. You know, and I've seen guys in their 80s that would put me to shame. I would be hard pressed to keep up with them, and they were in their 80s. So never give in, never give up, just keep going. And when you fall down, get up. It's going to hurt. Sure does. Get up. Jeremiah, good. And the thing is, Tony, so many of us that everybody was sure we was going to be that end up being the most resourceful ones, the ones that when it all goes sideways, everybody looks at us for what to do. Have you noticed that? Because I did. You know, it a lot of times those rough ones are end up being the leaders too. Bushcraft preacher, good night, sir. Thanks for coming in. Wolf HD, good. Condor bush lawyers are great knives for the price. Good bushcraft knife. Take that, use it. Down the line, if you want to upgrade to something fancier, but you ain't got to. Like I said, this is mine. You know, I still carry it time to time. I love my WC knife. I'm never getting rid of that. But sometimes I just want to play with something new. Good knife. Heart. Like KEP, Kep, Heart. Heart. Kep Heart. Look at the curve on this. When I saw the picture of it, of him, he made one similar to this design um, earlier. And I really, really like when I saw it, I went, ooh. But yet, even though it's curved, when you're holding it, the point is in straight line. That's the geometry for doing this. And I've seen so many knives that lose that. They don't get it, where it looks good until you actually holding it, and then it don't line up right. Like when I hold the bush lower, that point is dead center of my hand. And that one, even though it's curving, it's a little bit of drop, but when you hold it comfortably, point straight up. So that's, yeah. Yep. Like I said, when I knew this was going to be a little bit wider, but they're about the same size, same sheaths will work. And luckily I had an extra one. Where did I get that sheath? And Roger, my brother Roger, I think he ended up with an extra one that he ordered a replacement sheath or something like that, and it came with an extra one. That's right. I think he did. He had a Condor bush lower that the rivet had got bad or something. That it unstitched, and he contacted them, and they offered under warranty to send him another sheath, and sent it to you. That's what it was. So he gave me one. Dead Prepper, Blackie, can I still purchase a Nighthawk and a Haversack? Yes, because we're about to do a new run starting in August. It may be a week or so. I will announce. But like I said before, if you'll go to Down in Dirty Woods with an S craft at gmail.com and say, Blackie, put me on the list, I'll put you on the list. And it probably will be mid-August, 2 weeks from now, something like that, we'll be starting the next run. And I will email everybody on that list first and give them like a 4 or 5 day head start before I do the video to announce to everybody else. So if you'll email me there and say, Blackie, put me on the list, I'll drop you in that list. And when I get to go ahead from the manufacturer that, okay, we're ready to start the next run, I'll hit everybody on that list and tell them, okay, here's PayPal information, and delivery will probably be, I think, for the next run will be in November. So the run we're on now, those haversacks and rucksacks will be arriving in August. The one will be starting in August, I think it'll be November when they come in. I think is what it worked out. But we try to do about so many weeks because all of these are being handmade. Not hand sewed machine, but he's cutting all the pieces out, lining them up, and sewing them. You know, so this isn't some Chinese factory something. This is a lot of hand work, and it takes time when you're making up 100 pieces of anything. You know, and when you talk about haversacks, 50 haversacks, and then you're doing 25, rucksacks. So there's 75, and then you're doing all the hand cutting of all the pieces, parts, and everything else. It adds up. But it's got good quality, and he stands by it. So if there is a little somewhere where something did, he'll fix it. You know, and in all the ones we've done, we've had two that had a minor something that he was instantly ready to fix and take care of. So stand by the product. Well, it's about time to call it quits, guys. Richard Hayes, I want a WC knife like yours, but can't find them online. Where do I go? Go to stitchedgear.com. That's Randy Smith, and he's a knife leather sheath maker. He's also a dealer for WC knives. And through him, you can get one of my Blackbird knives because William makes them, and people like Randy are the dealer. He's one that puts in the order, William makes them, and then they come to you. So that's where that works. Well, guys, thank you very much. James, Tony, everybody for coming in. Thank you very much. I think we're going to call it quits for the night. I'm going to go take me a shower. It's been a long day. We'll be back on next Thursday night. If something comes up, I'll let y'all know. And thank you very, very much for all your support, everything you've done for me. I really do appreciate it. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.